the first in a series of interviews that I want to do, me, Terri Fedonczak, your field guide to using your girl power for good. I have an idea that I would like to show girls what using your girl power looks like and how following your dreams looks like what that looks like in the real world. So today I have as my very treasured guest my friend and holistic practitioner and shaman, Dawn Dalili. And today she's going to talk to us about how she uses her power, her girl power for good in her business. So hi, Dawn.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's great to have you here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're using your girl power for good out in the world right now.
Oh, big question. Okay, well, I'm a naturopathic physician by training, and I've kind of thrown out the practice of naturopathic medicine, traded it for serving women as a mentor. I really work with women around self-esteem and body image. But there are two avenues to my work. One is Live in a Body You Love, which is entirely focused on self-esteem and body image. And the other is Title IX Nutrition, which focuses on female athletes. And so we look at the self-esteem and the body image, but I help them to shift their relationship with food from one in which they're focused on losing weight, losing fat, losing inches, and instead focusing on winning at life. So what does it mean to show up fully? What does it mean to compete in a way that allows me to be the best that I can be, instead of thinking about competing with other people and doing the compare and despair game? So
nice. Excellent. And as you well know, our missions are just sort of dovetailed. We are on the same path. I think we have the same goal to empower girls, to empower women to step into their own lives and be the captain of their own boat, so to speak. But I would love to know how the Title IX Nutrition, how that sort of how that folds into this mission, because I know with me, the reason I came to you is I had no energy, and I remember going for months not going upstairs because I didn't have the energy to go upstairs, which was great for my girls because they didn't have to clean their rooms.
right.
But I just wanted a bigger life, and I couldn't do that with the small, puny little energy that I had. So that's the reason I came to you, and it has transformed my whole life. So what do you tell girls about how Title IX Nutrition can help them show up for themselves?
Well, with Title IX Nutrition, I'm really focused on female athletes. And so one of the things that I've found is that girls in general, particularly young adult women, so like the older teenagers, early 20s, not that it's limited to that age group because a lot of women face this, but there's a lot of social pressure around thinness, around smallness, around fitting in. And in order to do that, there's so much misinformation that they end up focusing on rules and restrictions and rigidity around food. And it's all, like we can create a prison for ourselves around food, partly because we just don't know, and then also because our intentions are misguided. We think that our relationship with food is supposed to shrink us in some way. And so the very first step is understanding that you are not here to shrink. You have permission to take up space energetically and also physically. And when you can do that, then you can shift your relationship with food so that it becomes nourishing to your spirit. It becomes nourishing to your highest expression. And there's a lot of education about what does it even mean to eat well? What does it mean to eat in a way that allows me to win? And so I educate girls about the 4 premises, about eating to win, and then we also talk about the competition piece and how can competition bring out the best of me instead of be another excuse to feel bad about myself.
Awesome. Awesome. That's fantastic. And that sort of embodying yourself in being larger instead of being smaller is, for me, at the very basis, the very foundation of using your girl power for good. Because if you don't show up and if you don't represent yourself to the fullest of your edges,
Mm-hmm.
you're not powerful. If you don't use your voice, it withers. So I would love to say what would you tell girls about living their own dreams bigger than their bodies? Like, how would you tell them to show up fully and be present?
Well, I think the first step is actually giving yourself permission to dream. A lot of times we buy into what we see around us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the real magic happens when we're willing to think beyond what we've seen, to think beyond what we've been exposed to. And I mean, I would use my own business as an example in that I largely made it up. Like there was not a market of women, having this message around empowered eating, around body image, around self-esteem. I certainly didn't learn it in medical school, but I recognized, like, here's a need. I can use my life experience as tools to fill this need. And so I created a path. And it really takes going out on a limb to know that you can create a path. And it's interesting because one of the things that I learned in my yoga practice and I teach to my yoga students is that when we are strong in our core, then we can take risks in our extremities, in the peripheries of our body, right? So I can reach further, I can stand taller, I can bend in different ways. And the exact same lessons apply off the mat, right? So when we are grounded and centered, when we know who we are in our foundation, then we can take risks in life without feeling like a failure defines me. So getting the lesson that there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. Learning that, the idea of failure is a stone on the path to success, not the opposite of success, were all things that were really instrumental in helping me to go out on a different limb and create a path that felt satisfying instead of one that was well paved.
Nice. Nice. I love that. And I would also, you spoke earlier about competition, and I do a lot of talking about connection versus competition. And yet, there's a really positive side to competition. So can you speak to how Title IX Nutrition's how it ties in with the positive side of competition and what that can do to build your girl power?
Yes, definitely. That's a great question. I grew up as a competitive athlete. I started playing soccer when I was 4. I played soccer, into my college years, and I coached after that. So competitive sports have a very near and dear place in my heart. And where I see competition really being good is that it can serve as a way of raising the bar, right? It can bring out the best of us. Sometimes we will only rise to the occasion when there's an occasion to rise to. And so I think that in that way, competition can be healthy. I think when it's detrimental is when we buy into this false belief that we're competing with other people. And I think that the way to turn it into something that's very healthy is recognizing that competition brings out my personal best. I am the one that I am competing with. Not to say that I've always got to do it better than I was before, but that it's my internal standard. That's what I'm competing against. And even if I lose the match or lose the game, if I found a way to dig deep and bring out my best, to show up to my fullest, then internally that feels like a win to me. And so that's what I really help young athletes understand, is that this is just another playground to find out what you're capable of, to push the envelope. And I really help them celebrate this idea of finding their edge, because if we don't find the edge, right, if we always stay in the comfort zone, then we can't grow. We can't push that edge further away unless we know where it is. And so I think that competition can be very, very healthy and very, very inspiring of growth, as long as we're not comparing and despairing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wholeheartedly agree. That's what I talk to my volleyball girls about, is how, one person cannot lose a game and one person cannot win a game. But when we all band together and we all show up in the best way possible, in the most powerful way possible, the score doesn't matter. It's the experience of that connection and that synergy that they have on the court that is magical. I mean, there's few places in life where you get that. I would love to open up the places in life that you get that kind of connection, but right now it tends to be on the court, and that's just hugely powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And
we've also talked about this idea where when, like I know I've seen it with your daughter and the volleyball games, but when a team plays another team that brings out their best, that's when it's magical, right? Like, we could win by playing teams that never challenge us. And really, like, where's the fun in that? You know, we can collect a lot of W's, but it's not about W's, right? It's about the excitement of the challenge. And that's where, when we can play somebody who's just a little better, right, in a way that brings out something that I didn't even know I had, that's brilliance.
Oh, it is. And it's so magical to watch. I've seen it happen, and it truly is. It changes you. It changes you as a person. So I have an interesting question.
Okay.
What would you tell 15-year-old Dawn today, if you could, from this place where you are right now?
From this place where I am right now, one, I would probably say you survived. So good job. Because it was challenging to be 15 years old. You know, it's I'm really, really open about the fact that the work that I do now around body image comes right from the fact that I struggled with body image, with disordered eating and with an eating disorder when I was in my teenage years. And so, yeah, that would definitely be the first thing, that if I could talk to 15-year-old Dawn, I'd say, you know what, there is a light at the end of this tunnel, and not only did you survive it, but these challenges, all the murkiness, were actually burning away the impurities that were hiding your spirit, because all of this stuff is simply a way of revealing your gifts. And if I had known that I was discovering my gifts as opposed to thinking that I was just drudging through challenge, I could have approached it with a totally different attitude.
I agree wholeheartedly. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. Please tell the viewers, listeners, where to find you.
Well, the easiest way to find me is to go to dawndalili.com. It's DAWNDALILI. And there you can read about the Live in a Body You Love work, which I do with women who don't self-describe as athletes. And you can also read about Title IX nutrition and the work that I do with not just young female athletes, but also collegiate athletes and women who are past their college years, who are just sort of rediscovering athleticism. And all of the work that I do is done by phone. I work with women everywhere, so reach out, and I'd love to be just a part of that journey. You can also read my blog, Live in a Body You Love, or Lessons for Living in a Body You Love, which comes every week. I know you'd think I would know my own work at this point, but yeah, I would be really thrilled to be part of the support system for any of the girls that you work with. So definitely.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being with us, Dawn. You are one of my heroes, and I am so happy to share you with my audience. And have a wonderful day. And I hope that you will come back and tell us how things are going in Dawn World and how you're furthering your Girl Power for Good and spreading it far and wide in the future.
I would love to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.